Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining the Agency Access AXS Hangout. We're so excited to have you. Today we're going to be talking about how social media is evolving our community for professional photographers and artists alike. So today we have the amazing sought after Jeremy Coward and Nick Onken. I'm so happy to have you guys. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so the reason why I asked you guys to come on board is not only are you guys killing it in this market, you guys have such a huge following. You really are changing how people are looking and seeing things, but you guys are doing it. And the reason why I asked you is because you guys are both doing it so differently. And I find it so fascinating how you both approach social media with different takes and on your different platforms as well. So, before we get started, I think Nick, you are all over the place. You are jet setting, you're traveling. We started our careers together, but now I get to be a voyeur in your life and get to watch you from, Pencils from Promise, building schools, to your shop talk, to, shooting major brands. So you're all over it. You really are using your brand as a lifestyle to promote yourself through so many different channels. It's amazing.
Thank you.
And Jeremy, from just getting back at, from shooting the Pope to, let me say, photographing the Pope to, Adweek's 10 visuals. I wrote this down, 10 visuals who are changing the way we see advertising. And you were listed with Annie Leibovitz, 10 people. So it's so amazing. I'll be watching you on Facebook and Instagram and all the things you're doing. And then my mother-in-law is coming to me going, that cute guy with the beanie who's taking his daughter out for a father-daughter date. It's just, you have impact, both of you have impact amongst our community, but then your outreach is even wider than that. So it's so amazing what you guys are doing. So thank you guys for, one, taking your busy schedules. This is pre-recorded because you guys are so popular and so busy, so I really appreciate you guys taking this time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
All right, you guys ready to get started?
Let's do
Sure.
it.
Okay, so since you guys have such different takes on how you approach social media, really that's the goal, is to, the intention is to help our community, get your takes from it, and maybe they can take some information and help their own social growth to expand their brand as well. So that's the intention for this social hangout. All right, we're going to get started. How often are you, and I'm going to start with you, Jeremy, how often are you using Instagram and other social media platforms to promote yourself?
Yeah, I use them every day. I definitely use Twitter pretty much every day. And then when I post to Instagram, I connect it to Facebook and Twitter. So I'm trying to use them all as often as I can. And for me, I don't really think about it as marketing per se. I just try to think of it more of a conversation with friends. It's just a run of thoughts, and it always has been that way. So it by this point, it just feels like a natural extension of everything I'm doing. So I just try to be open and transparent about stuff.
Nice. How
Yeah,
about you,
for,
Nick?
yeah, for me it feels pretty like a natural extension. Instagram is definitely the one that I manage myself the most. I've kind of fallen off Twitter a little bit. I still use it to push out and I'll keep tabs on it every once in a while, but I think it's one of those things. There's so much going on. There's all this noise, so I think you got to pick one and kind of make that your thing. Um,
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, how overwhelming do you find it, both of you guys, how overwhelming do you find it to manage it? Because we were talking pre-recording, we were talking about the exhaustion, or it's the second career, trying to manage not only your photography career, but this career of social. I mean, how are you guys doing it?
I think it's just one day, 1 hour at a time. You try to think of, like, I've been using Periscope a lot, and you try to really think what would add value to people's lives. So, because Periscope can tend to be a very useless platform, but I'm trying to really think, like, how could it actually help people? What would I actually Periscope to bring any teaching or learning to somebody? And then Twitter is just a stream of thoughts. But it all is overwhelming. At the end of the day, you have to choose your platforms. And Snapchat is one that I don't use. I had to let it go. I just can't find the time to manage all of them, but I still do quite a bit for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it does get really overwhelming. There's so many platforms, and they just keep coming out with new ones, and a different one's hot. I mean, I focus on Instagram. That's my favorite, but then sometimes I'll Snapchat, but when I remember, kind of thing. When I post Instagram, it's usually more of like when I feel inspired, when I have something cool to post. Facebook and Twitter are a little bit more autopilot. Sometimes I have my guys even working on, preloading stuff for me, just to like keep pushing out content that helps people. And like Jeremy said, I think a lot of it is about adding value and you know helping other people with it.
Well, there's an interesting take because we had talked about this where Jeremy said you really don't think of social media as a marketing channel, where Nick, you just said I'm pushing it out to stay out there. So, talk to me about that, real quickly in terms of, what do you see it as? Like, do you see, you see it as an extension of yourself, explaining who you are as an artist?
Nick?
Yeah, yeah, for me, like I don't necessarily see it as marketing per se. I think it's just brand building, to be honest. Like, you're building your awareness amongst other people. I don't know how many industry people will actually follow me. Most of the people that follow me are their photographers and brands, like smaller brands, and it depends on who I'm shooting and who I'm connecting with to where the following's coming from. But um, I don't see it as necessarily a marketing tool. I see it as a brand building tool, and we talked about a little bit where it's subconsciously it's a popularity contest in a so to speak term. I don't. That sounds so weird to say, but it's when when you see higher numbers, you're like, oh, there's people follow people with higher numbers. So maybe that has something to do with the way people perceive you as a brand. I don't think it really actually directly translates to like jobs or sales or anything.
Well, let's talk about that because this has been a huge question. I'm going to move on to the next one because, do you think the number of your followers is influencing, because there's regional jobs, there's national jobs, and then there's international jobs. Do you guys see the amount of followers that you have, or just amongst your other peers, not just primarily yourself, influencing being considered for jobs?
In my experience, social media plays a very, very small part in getting hired. I hear a lot about it through other photographers. I know there's even a couple agencies now that represent social media photographers, Instagram influencers specifically. But in my specific world, I'm less advertising and I'm more like music industry, entertainment. And I've always pushed for clients to utilize social media more, for us to release images quicker, make Twitter and Facebook all part of it. But for me, I don't see that many clients care necessarily. I don't think it influences the jobs I get. They think it's cool later when they find out that I have a following or whatever. But for me, it's never integrated too much from the beginning with clients, if that makes sense.
It does. Nick, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it really influences getting jobs. I feel like
It's
they're
so
two separate
fascinating,
things.
though. I had somebody say recently, and I've heard this several times in the past 6 months. I lost a job because somebody had 100,000 more followers than me. You guys aren't finding that,
Mm.
What kind of job is it? I think that's the other
but
thing
you
to
guys
think
have the
about.
followers, so maybe you guys aren't having that problem because you guys have the followership. It's national campaigns or being hired for a baby campaign because of a followership. So it's just a really interesting conversation I've been having lately that other photographers are having that dilemma. So I'm just trying to figure out who else is having that problem because if a photographer is going to feel challenged if I don't have enough followers, then I'm not going to get the job. So I think it's really interesting that conversation is not coming up.
Yeah, I've never really experienced that. I think it still comes down to the work and like how you are on set. Maybe that's a certain type of job. I don't know. I've never experienced that.
It's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, that conversation feels foreign to me. I mean, like you said, I mean, I've heard of that happening before, but not in my community, not amongst the photographers I know. I mean, I don't. It's just weird that the clients would even hire based on an audience size. So yeah, I haven't experienced that yet.
But I
Well, I
guess
am doing a follow-up blog post and asking creative people too, are they influenced by that? So we'll get some answers to you after that.
Yeah.
that'd be interesting.
So, I mean, what would you guys recommend to artists that don't have a strong social following but want a strong social following?
Mm.
I would say you have to have a voice. You have to enter something new into the conversation that isn't being said. You know, the people that blow up on Instagram are really the ones who have consistency with almost a niche. Like for example, my friend Theron, who runs the Instagram account This Wild Idea. He has nearly 1 million followers, over 900,000, and it's the story of him hanging out with his dog. And people know that they can go to that account to see crazy photos of his dog. It's like a thing that he does, and they're beautiful photos. He's a great photographer, but that's like his niche. Then there's, you know, Clark Little, who's not even a photographer by trade. He's a surfer, and he just uploads beautiful photos of waves and water, and people know that they can be inspired that every day they're going to get this photo of a beautiful wave. And, you know, all the people that I know that have large followings on Instagram, there's really a continual message or continual thread, and they're all like interesting things that no one else is doing. I find that if you just, I mean, you can just upload pretty pictures and chances are you'll gain a following. I mean, there's endless accounts of mountains and roads and trees. For the love, the internet loves mountains, trees, and roads, and I feel like half the rock stars on Instagram, that's all they post. But in general, I think it's really important to have a specific voice or something you're adding to the conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I think having a specific focus or thing that you put out there that people look forward to, I think that's a good way to build it. I'm still trying to figure out how to even build further. It's always kind of a mystery to me,
So
actually.
you're always trying to evolve, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because I feel like having a following gets you more on other sides of things, like
Mhm.
not like the actual shooting jobs, but people send me free stuff now. It's kind of nice. It's more like that kind of stuff.
Well,
I
so
would
oh,
I
go
would
ahead.
agree. I would agree completely. The benefits of having a big following are endless, but it doesn't really pertain for me to clients. Clients has nothing to do with it. But like Nick said, I mean, I get almost every single piece of gear now I use. It's all free. From every corner of the internet, I get free stuff. And so in the end, it improves your business because you're saving a lot of money by not buying. You know, you have a lot less expenses because people want you to promote things through your channel. So there's benefits in that way.
Well, that was not the answer I was expecting from either of you. So thanks for surprising me.
It's
Um,
the truth, though.
what trends are you seeing from clients? Because your work is going in social, right? It's whether it's going in print, it's going on the web, it's going on social. What are you guys seeing trend-wise in terms of media buys? Are you just seeing that they're just buying it outright, or are they just buying it for unlimited rights for online usage? Like, what are you seeing trend-wise in terms of verbiage or the communication between your buyers?
I'm definitely seeing a lot more social media buy. I did a shoot, uh, a big campaign. One day was print, one day was just for social.
Okay.
So social and online. So I mean, had a whole day dedicated to just social media. So I mean, I think Jeremy probably he does a lot of he was just talking about that too. I think there is a lot more stuff shoots just for social media.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of it. In fact, Nick really works a lot more in the advertising world than I do. But I did do my first Nike shoot recently, and that was specifically for social media, and that was my first ever social media specific shoot I had done. And then this thing where I just went and documented the Pope's first visit to America, that was specifically a social media hire. Nothing that's going in print or anywhere else like that. It's just I was being hired to use Twitter and Instagram, which I'd already been doing anyway, so that was an interesting job. But yeah, I've only really had two experiences of social media hires.
Well, this is not a question on my question because now I'm more fascinated than anything. I want to hear from both of you, both from this recent job you just did, Nick, and then your Nike job. how are you shooting it differently? What's different mentally or even creatively when you're thinking about this, going from the print shoot and then going, changing your mindset to the social? Like, what's changing in your mind? What's happening? What are you being told, art direction wise, how to think differently?
I don't know. I mean, it's a little bit slower of a process, I would say, for the print, and then the social media is just like, okay, how many shots in a day can you do? I mean, we did like there was two. I had a second photographer, and we did 150 shots between the two of us for a day.
150 shots.
Yeah, but it was like running around, just like we'd shoot the same scenario with a different product. It was just like, okay, swap the product. And for me, it was just running around, whereas the print day, we did 2 shots the whole day. And we really focused on that shot. And it was a different method, it was a slower process doing the print shoot versus the social media shoot.
Did you find the same thing, Jeremy?
Well, I would say from a technical standpoint, this Pope thing I did was so much more forgiving from like Instagram. It only goes up to now, I think it's 1200 by 1200 of a resolution. So I wasn't able to get super close to the Pope, as you can imagine, due to all the Secret Service. So I was able to shoot 50 megapixels with a Canon 5DS, which is a massive file and a long lens. So by the time I transferred the image to my iPhone, I was transferring the full 50 megapixel JPEG over, then I would edit it. And so what that gave me was the ability to really create an image within an image. Because I would crop, the image is this big, and then I would crop really, really into this section, but I would still have a large enough file to post to social. And so, from a resolution standpoint, it was so much more forgiving, and I could still create these pretty nice images, even though I was pretty far away, using a large camera and a long lens. So that's one way that I was affected by this latest shoot.
Interesting. Well, this is going in such a different direction. I'm having so much fun, guys. Thank you. All right, this is why I don't know your answers when we get started. Okay, this is a question this is really my personal question. What do you guys find to be more impactful? Because I'm seeing, and again, you guys are both very different. The day in the life of the artist versus the artwork. What do you guys find personally? What do you guys find more interesting? What are you intrigued by? Because Nick, you have a different take on Instagram than say Jeremy does, and I'm just curious, what are you attracted to, and what are you attracted to when you're looking yourself?
That's
Nick,
a hard.
go ahead.
That is a hard question.
It is a hard question.
I mean, when I'm doing it myself, I like a little bit of both. Like, I like to show some behind the scenes stuff, but then I also like to show the final work. And I mean, some stuff I'm doing like mixed medium art and other things, and then it's like kind of other stuff that's going on in my life, besides just like my actual photographs. I guess when I'm looking at other people's stuff, when I'm looking at photographers that I like, I mean, I would say I like to see a little bit of both.
Okay.
I like to see the final photos, but then I also like to see behind the scenes. But I think that's photographers that I look up to and things like that. I don't know.
What about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, that's a very. I mean, I don't know. I'm. Repeat the question. I'm kind of spacing on what the question was.
Yep. Like you have like a Chip Litherland or you have a Sasha Gulish. Like Chip Litherland is all about the solid image. He's about color. He's about, just really bringing a striking image. Where you have Sasha Gulish, who is just bringing the day in the life of who she is as an artist. So, when you see those, which one are you personally attracted to?
Yeah, both. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say I've never heard of either of those people, but I
check them out. They're phenomenal. But go on.
Yeah, there's a lot of photographers I follow and watch their work, and I think like Nick said, I enjoy seeing the work, but I get frustrated when the photographers like these. I feel like the more legendary photographers that we've all watched, like they don't show who they are. They don't show behind the scenes, and and there's a
Interesting.
long list. And so I enjoy when they give a peek into their workflow, or even just behind the scenes, or even their personalities in general. And I'm the extreme opposite, where I wear my heart on my sleeve. Everybody knows everything about me, and that's probably not the best way to go about it either. But that's just, even before social media, I was the type of guy that was like very communal, like starting communities locally, and I was always getting people together. So I'm social even without social media. So it's always been in my blood, I guess.
Yeah, you know
Well,
what's
let's
funny?
actually talk. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nick.
I was gonna say, you know what's funny is that there are a few photographers who I really, really love their work, and their Instagram is horrible, like to the point where I had to unfollow them because they can't post even a good photo. I feel like if you're a photographer, even if it's like a day in the life, you should at
Yeah,
least be able to post like well composed, good, decent photograph on Instagram.
exactly. Yeah,
Dang
agreed.
it, Donkin. I love it. Well, who is killing it? Who do you think is killing it? Besides you two, who do you think is killing it? Like, who should we be following if we're not following already?
Oh man,
Photographer wise,
Anybody, if, designer, photographer.
it's a long list for me. I mean, they're endless. I mean, you could look at who I'm following on Instagram,
I
but
was gonna say that.
yeah, off the top of my head, that's a tough one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I regret. I mean, I think every photographer now has to be on Instagram. My major regret is that I was on Instagram right away when they first started years ago, and I was gaining followers so fast, thousands of followers, and then I literally took 4 years away from it because I was building my own iPhone app, and I was really focused on that. And during that time that I took off. My friends and peers that were on Instagram too in those early days, they all gained literally hundreds of thousands of photographers. And during that time that I was off, I mean, the game changed completely. And so now I feel like I'm trying to play catch up. I'm trying to stay on it because I know photographers that make 10 to 15 grand per post to Instagram, which is just insane that people can get paid that much to post to Instagram. So I really feel like it's become the new photo industry, and the photo industry doesn't even know it. It's like they're not even keeping up or catching up. But I really, now that's why I'm trying to stay on it, even if it's just random. I just always am trying to keep on it and
Well,
using
you're
it.
answering my next question, so let's actually go to that. How are you seeing? I mean, you say it's changing and we're not even aware of it. I mean, how are you really seeing that it's influencing us?
I see it as being you're becoming a media channel. You're becoming a media platform. So versus, oh, I'm using this to like get work. It's more like, okay, it almost could be another revenue stream if you build your
Mhm.
following big enough. People will pay you, like Jeremy said, people are paying for posts, and that could be, as a content maker and a media channel, that's a huge opportunity.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's changed everything. I agree. I feel like photographers these days are kind of becoming like musicians. We have our own brands, and people follow us for a large variety of reasons. But we do have to think about everything we say, how we present ourselves. Nick, I have to brag on Nick. He's always been so freaking good with his personal brand and consistency and typefaces. Like, we're both former designers, but Nick has done a great job of continuing his design through his own brand. In fact, I've always shown Nick's work off to workshops that I teach, and I think Nick is a good example of just, you go from his website to his Twitter to his Instagram and it's just the same visual presentation. It's lifestyle, it's bright, it's happy, it's kind of on the fly. It's just, and whereas I'm like freaking all over the place, I'm as ADD as it gets. Even stylistically, I'm as ADD as it gets. So people should learn from Nick in that regard, not from me.
Stop.
You do a pretty good job.
What lessons do you want to give our peers, our friends, our community? What do you want to share? Like, what's 1 to 3 tips you would say if they started today with their social media, whether they just started it, like you say, they took 4 years off, but what advice would you give to your peers to help grow and really own that what you were talking about earlier, that visual voice, that brand? Like, what advice would you give them to get their social up to speed? Nick, what would you say first?
I mean, I would say first thing is just stay consistent and keep posting regularly. Secondly would be to focus on something, have a voice, like we talked about with Jeremy before. Um, and because you're building a brand with social media, and it's kind of it's carried across your the way you present, the way you curate, the way that you show. So like Instagram especially is it shows your eye, it shows what you're thinking and when you're actually curating and choosing what to post. Um, yeah,
Interesting, Jeremy.
thirdly, oh, go Jeremy.
So, so a few things that people need to focus on if they're starting out on social, right?
What'd you say?
Uh, uh, the question was a few things people need to focus on if they're starting out on social. So,
Correct.
yeah, I mean, consistency, figuring out, really, like at the end of the day, you have to figure out what you're passionate about. Because if you choose to follow or post things that are just the current trends, then you're going to find yourself really bored and really just not fulfilled. Like you have to really figure it out what it is you're passionate about and go down that. I love a photographer that comes to mind is Emily Soto. I just recently met her in New York, and just beautiful, beautiful photography and her style. It's all like vintage Polaroid-y looking stuff. She shoots a lot of fashion models, but she's obviously passionate about that look and that style, and she's following her passions. I feel like a lot of photographers are simply posting photos of roads and mountains and trees and coffee cups just to gain likes and followers. But they're gonna really hit the end of that road once they keep shooting that road. But yeah, I mean, you really have to find those things you're passionate about and what's already within your. I live in Nashville and I have 4 kids, so I post a lot about my family and try to do that creatively. And so that's within my realm. I can't go to New York and be a fashion photographer. I can't move to Portland and photograph all the landscapes. Like I have to figure out what's within right here within my town that I can do and do consistently. And so yeah, but it's figuring out that voice and staying consistent.
I think it's also like staying authentic with who you are, and I mean, for me, it's just my life. I post what my life is. I think Jeremy, you do that as well.
Well, I'm taking notes here, guys, because I think we have to reiterate what you said. I think this is kind of the epic moment of this Google Hangout where, these key words that you're saying, authenticity, authentic. Everybody says authentic, but it's the truth. It's what you need within reach. I think it's similar to what Jeremy was saying. It's really like, what's the reality around you? What can you reach? The passion, the consistency in voice, the consistency in visuals, and then the curation. So, I mean, you guys have really nailed. I mean, I think that's why you guys are successful, even though you have such a different approach and a different filter of how you put your social media out there. I think that's why you guys are so successful, because you, I think, live those 5 or 6 truths to your social media. 2 last questions, then I'm going to let you guys go. But how would you guys define? We know social media, and you can look it up. You can Wikipedia it or whatever it is. How would you define social media? Go ahead, Nick. I'm going to stare at Jeremy.
How would I define social media? I would say it's social. It's media. It's sharing socially who you are and communicating and creating a community with digital tools, digital tools, I would say, using digital tools and the World Wide Webs to create your community and create your tribe and share with people.
Interesting. I love that answer. Thanks. Jeremy, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a friendship. It's just another form of communication. It's just talking to people online just like you would your friend at a coffee shop. I think that's at the end of the day, that's what it should be. And we're just using different tools to do that. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they're all just different forms of communication, but I don't think they should be thought of that any differently than any normal friendship. Granted, it's a little creepier because you're talking to thousands of people that are listening to you, but at the end of the day, it's just a relationship you have with people listening. So you try to stay humble and approachable and respond to people and listen, and it's just again like any other relationship.
I love both of your answers, the community, the tribe, the friendship. Not what I was expecting your definitions to be, so thanks again for the surprise. One last thing is we're starting to change. I'm starting to see buyers are changing their names. Are you guys seeing that people that are reaching out to you are from different titles, content buyers, content producers? Are you guys seeing any different people contacting you to hire you rather than the traditional art producer or photo editor?
What do you mean? You mean like just different?
Different titles that our community is not used to speaking to. If they're calling you, maybe they're not saying, "Hi, this is Amanda Stone. I'm a content producer." Are you seeing any different titles for your personal media buys? Are you seeing anybody contacting you out of the norm?
Wait, you mean people buy? Sorry, people buying media from like hiring us or
Yeah, like
buying?
art buyers, art producers. Like the name, the titles are changing so frequently now that we're finding that we're keeping up with all the title changes. Are you guys having that problem yet?
I mean, I still feel it's like art producers now. I mean, it used to be art buyers, but now it's all art producers. I think that's about the only change that I've seen. I haven't seen anything else.
Okay, interesting. All right. Jeremy, are you seeing anybody different? Any content buyers coming your way yet?
Well, again, all these words are foreign to me because I just don't work in the advertising world. I'd like to, so if anyone wants to give me a ring, that'd be great. But yeah, Nick has always been a lot more in the advertising world than I have. I deal with record labels a lot, and so it's always art directors or creative directors, and so I don't think I've seen too much change in any titles. Not something I've noticed too much.
Well, you're easing some worry some people are having trying to keep up, so they're not feeling too behind. So thanks, guys, for making
Sure.
our community feel like they can catch up. Any last parting words or advice to everybody that's listening that aspire to have your following, aspire to have the type of visuals that you have? Like, what's your last parting words to them?
I would say the key right now to what I'm doing is diversifying. I think if you're creative in any field right now, it's really important to diversify. I see photography as just one thing that I do. In fact, it's not even really what I make the most money doing. Even though this year, 2015 has been my most successful year as a photographer, but even still, I just am constantly scrambling to get other ideas off the ground, to get other businesses going, and I love it. I love that diversity. And I think that people are smart if they do that because you never know where the economy is going to go. The world is a crazy place right now, so I like to diversify just in case something bad were to happen, and so I think it's smart for photographers, and that's the beauty of social media. To bring it full circle, is that we're really living in the wild, wild west. There's so many opportunities now to utilize social media. People are getting paid to Instagram, paid to Snapchat, paid to Vine. There's just so many different ways of making it all work now. So think about how you can diversify. That would be my key tip.
Love it.
That's so funny. I agree. I think diversifying is great, and I also think focus is good as well. And it's funny because
What
like
focus? What is that?
I don't know, Captain ADD over there. I mean, I think if you're a photographer, definitely like focus on building your craft. It's always about making better pictures and showing more people. Um, I think I think definitely, diversifying where you can build income is huge because, like as Jeremy said, it is the wild, wild west. There's so many different ways you can make money now than 3 or 4 years ago, and there's a whole new landscape, especially with social media, that you can almost carve your own path. You can become a media channel. You can become a content and media channel yourself. I think pick what you want to do and figure out how to like let that fall through under your umbrella.
Nice. And your umbrella being your main brand, right? You
Well, yeah,
yourself.
that's also the other thing is like build your brand because I feel like if you build your brand, you can do so many things within that brand. And if you build your name and your brand, you can do photography, but you can also create media channel. You can also, I don't know, experiment under different things and create different things. You have a channel to do, if you're creating a social channel and a brand, you have that channel to diversify with and try different things. And I think people will grab onto that, especially with all the digital noise going on in this world today.
Yeah, there's
Wow.
one more thing. There's one more thing I would add too. That photographer at any level should start now on building their email list. Social media is awesome, but at the end of the day, if you want a gallery showing, if you want to sell a book, if you want to sell prints, if you want to teach, whatever it is you want to do with your photography, I've gained so much in the last year from building my email list. I've promoted things that still 90% of my actual engagement and actual response is through email, not through social media. So social media is great for spreading the word, but at the end of the day, it's still amazing to have an email list.
And
I
that's
love
Jeremy. That's an opt-in email list, not a
Yeah.
because when you can when people actually opt in for your email, you're going to get a higher rate of opens and return on that email list.
and that's your tribe that you're talking about, people
Tribe, yeah.
that are wanting your tribe. I like that word. I'm gonna steal that word now, Nick.
Yes, I aspire to Jeremy's size of tribe one of these days. His email list, his massive email list.
I think we all do. Listen, guys. I think one of the things that happened for me watching and listening to you guys. First of all, thank you. But what happened to me is your vulnerability. It's a word that I'm really attracted to right now. Is being real and showing people who you are as a person. And I mean, Jeremy, when you're saying, "Gosh, I wish I was shooting this," or "I wish I did this," or "I regret," like it's about being real and showing people that your struggles are everybody else's struggles, and
Mhm.
that it's not effortless. You guys are putting effort behind this, but it's this authenticity, this word that we've been using, and this vulnerability that you guys bring to the table. So that's ultimately what I wanted to share. That I found so attractive when I'm watching you guys socially. So thank you for bringing that. That was so crucial. So I would just want to say thank you for really bringing yourselves today.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for having us. Really appreciate it.
All right,
Absolutely.
guys,
For having us.
go on, go conquer, and go get some more followers with a visual consistency.
That's right.
Bye.
See ya.
Ciao.